Welcome back to the channel. My name is Adam Smith, and inside this game overview and gameplay video, I am checking out Okinawa, the last battle of World War II. This one designed by Gabe Barrett, Mess With One. This is June's solo game of the month, and if you want to find the campaign page, I have the link in the pinned comment, video description, and in the top right-hand corner right now. It's going to GameFound for June 11th. Within this game, the fighting is intense, the casualties are high, and now it's up to you to lead your soldiers to victory using dice to activate and upgrade actions on your rondel as you capture objectives, defeat the Japanese army, and save the day. Now, each game consists of 4 objectives that you must survive and capture before time runs out. On your turn, you're going to spend dice to move and to activate different action cards to deal damage, find enemies, and heal. Knowing when to push forward into hostile territory and upgrading the right cards at the right time will turn the tide in this famous final battle. We'll start things off with the dice tower, which is constructed and can be actually situated on the side of the VHS style case with slits on the back to actually keep it in place, and you can roll your dice through it and keep it inside of a given area without it going flying outside of it. Pretty awesome. We have 2 sets of dice here. One is the action dice that I'll be using as a player, and then we have the enemy specific dice, which will be targets that the enemy is going after based on the roll. We start the game off with 5 health, and we also have a medic pack here as well to help us with some healing. We have a +1, -1 token we can discard in order to manipulate a die by +1 or -1. I mentioned earlier in the video we need to get through 4 objectives. 3 of them are random. You have no idea what they are. The last one will always be Hill 89, but the objective 1, 2, and 3 are randomized. In this case, we got Hacksaw Ridge. The objective card mentions a number of things to set up, which I've already gone ahead and done. The one in the bottom left-hand corner tells us to put 6 soldier tokens in slot number 1. Then it says to grab scenario card J, which I've done, which is Race Against Time. It says lose 1 health each time you complete a loop. 4 tells us how many action dice we get to roll, so we're not going to need 6 for this particular objective, so we'll take 2 out. And up in the top left-hand corner, we have a 2 with rotating arrows. This lets us know as we move across the rondel taking actions that once we go through the rondel twice, then this is going to trigger the flag every time we go through it to drop 1 position down as we move through that objective. And whether we actually clear all the enemies or not, we're moving on to the next objective. Setup continues on this objective card in the top right-hand corner, tells us specifically known enemies based on letters. So on the back side of this machine gunner, it's a C, the pillbox is an F, and we have another machine gunner just off screen, and they all go from slot 2 through 4. The middle row here is known as the battlefield, so it has all the soldiers I mentioned prior, 6 of them in this case, sitting in slot number 1. Soldiers always go here. Then you'll see the letters C, which is going to be the machine gunner. If I flip this card over, F is the pillbox, and another machine gunner over here. They come in with fog of war tokens, which means they're going to have to get past the fog of war first before we can actually do damage and kill them. So the battlefield is the center through the middle of the 3 rows. My soldiers occupy the top row and the bottom row, 1 through 5, wrapping around to 6, and then going through to 10 and wrapping back around to 1. There are certain effects here which are going to occur, like this one right here. The scenario card says losing a health each time you complete the loop. So every time we start from 1 and go all the way around and wrap back around and complete a full loop, we're going to go ahead and take a hit on our health, unfortunately. Also worth mentioning, as I go from 5 to 6, I'm passing through a resupply spot. When that happens, I get a resupply token, and on top of it, I get to choose 1 of 3 different revealed reinforcement cards in here and choose to take one and replace it with 1 of my soldiers, any one I want, or I can discard that reinforcement if I don't want it, and then you replenish this area. Up here in the top right, we have more Japanese soldier tokens, we have damage tokens, we have sandbag tokens used for defense and trying to avoid wounds, which is awesome. And then we have fog of war tokens. On one side is a 1, on the other side is a 2. You use them as depicted on the cards and they will represent fog in the area, meaning that you cannot get through with damage to that unit until the fog of war has been removed. Last but not least, we have 2 decks of cards. These are the unknown enemies. They don't have any letter on the front of them and will be called for by objective cards based on a numerical value. So it might say you're going to place 1 unknown enemy into a certain slot position. You won't know what it is. It'll be a surprise when it happens to creep up on you. Whereas these are the known enemies. They have a letter on the backs of their cards. And like we saw with the machine gunner, which is a C, and the pillbox, which is an F, these become known as you go through gameplay and you become more experienced with it, but that's the difference between the 2 decks. Both of them comprise of enemies, some known, some unknown. So now with a better understanding of all the components, let's talk about the win and loss conditions. To win the game, you must complete all 4 objectives, ending with the final stand at Hill 89, within the number of laps around the battlefield allowed by each objective. A lap is completed each time you move the command pawn from the last numbered action space back to the first. If you fail to complete the 4th objective by the time you reach the end of the final lap around the battlefield, or your health ever reaches 0, you lose the game. And you can also lose the game earlier if you happen to take too many wounds. In other words, if you get 5 wounds or 5 damage, all of these heart tokens have flipped over to the skull side. That is a loss. So without further ado, let's dive into the battle at Hacksaw Ridge. We start off a game turn by flipping over any exposed face-down enemies. So for instance, if there happen to be any face-down enemies, which have nothing else on top of them, then you would flip those over and those would be revealed at this point. The next step is to roll enemy dice. You're going to do this by rolling a die for every soldier, in this case 6, and 6 is actually the maximum number of dice you roll for soldiers in general. So if you happen to have, say, 8 or 10 soldiers in this area, you're at max going to be rolling 6 for them. There might be certain cards that will tell you to roll additional dice, but you don't have to typically. So in this case, the machine gunner has arrows which tell you exactly which spots it's going to actually impact and hit. The whole point of rolling the dice for the soldiers is you have no idea which individuals are going to target from your 2 rows of soldiers. And the pillbox, which is in the middle, is not doing any firing whatsoever, but it is protecting all of the soldiers here from being attacked by me. So we'll start things off by rolling 6 dice and seeing who these 6 soldiers are targeting from my soldiers. The Japanese army has targeted a number of my soldiers, and it's worth mentioning it is actually possible, of course, to roll multiples on the exact same soldiers. So let's say, for instance, 3 of these dice happen to land on this bunker number 10 here. If that happened, and my command pawn, as I'm moving around the rondel taking actions, lands and ends when the enemy turn comes around here, and happen to have 3 red dice here, I'd be taking 3 individual hits to my health, which would be very bad. So this is basically giving you an idea, a heads up before your turn happens as to which soldiers you do not want to have your command pawn stopping on at the end of your turn. Now on top of that, you're also keeping an eye on the cards down through the battlefield, like the machine gunner, who's already targeting this space, and the machine gunner here targeting this space and the space above. Once targets have been acquired for the Japanese army, we now get to go ahead and roll our action dice. Again, we know how many to roll based on the objective card. It's a 4 in this case. We're rolling 4 dice. Let's go ahead and do so. Now, as you guys likely noticed, the die got stuck right on the dice tower edge there and didn't come out all the way. In the final version, there'll be tweaks to this dice tower to ensure all the D6s and all the D10s can flow through this without any hitches. Now, with our action dice all rolled, we had to spend all of our action dice. We had 2 major things we can do with the dice. The first one is we can discard the die for the numeric value in order to move that much through the rondel. So for instance, we discard a 1, we're moving the command pawn 1 space to slot 2. This is very beneficial when you're trying to move your pawn to an actual card you want to activate, or you're just trying to move forward in terms of getting through the objectives. Now, the other option that you have with your action dice, you can choose to activate a card. If you do this, you simply activate the card and take advantage of the icons on it. So for instance, we're currently on a scout. And again, it's where your pawn is that actually matters when you're activating a card. So if I'm on the scout right now, I can take advantage of removing Fog of War, which would be very handy to remove off one of the machine gunners. So I'm going to go ahead and activate the card that I'm currently on with my pawn. So it's going to allow me to remove a Fog of War token. So I've gone ahead and removed it off the machine gunner here. And I discarded this die. We'll take it off to the side. So we have 3 dice remaining. Now here's where it gets interesting with activating cards. You might be going, well, I would really love to go ahead and remove another Fog of War token off this machine gunner, but you can't in this instance. And the reason you can't is because if you wish to do the same activation of a card in sequence, in other words, multiple times, you have to not only discard the first die to do it the first time, but any more times after that have to be in sequence. In other words, the values on the die you're discarding have to be in sequence. So if I discard a 3, the next one would have to be a 4. Or if I discard a 1 first, the next one would have to be a 2. And that way you can actually use the same card multiple times. Right now I can't do that. So because I can't do that, and there's a rule that states you can only activate a card once in your turn, that's all I can do with the scout right now. So again, for clarity, you can only activate a card once, but when you activate the card, it can either trigger the abilities on the card one time, because you discarded 1 die only, or if you're discarding multiple dice in a sequence, you can do the same card multiple times in that activation, which means you get the effect multiple times, which is pretty cool. I discarded a die with 1 on it to move 1 space to the infantrymen. I definitely want to activate that infantryman, so I discarded a die with a 1 on it. Again, the die number doesn't matter when you're activating the card. What does matter is the symbols on it. This tells us what the infantryman can actually do damage against. It can do damage against armored units. It can also do damage against infantry units. And you know which is which based by looking at the card. The machine gunners here are infantry. They need 3 hits to be taken out. The pillbox is armor. It takes 5 to be hit out. So the other thing to note is the soldiers over here are actually 2 health each. And every time you take 1 hit against them, they will flip over to the red side. When they take the second hit, then they are removed. Now, these soldiers are protected right now by the pillbox, so I cannot touch them. So the only person I can technically hit right now, well, actually, there's 2 things. I could go for the pillbox in order to try and get that out of the way so I could go after the soldiers, or I can start going after the machine gunner. I'm going to have the infantryman do a damage against the pillbox, and with my final die, I'm going to go ahead and use it to move all the way to the bunker. Now I moved to the bunker and I'm kind of tempted to actually increase that die movement by +1, allowing me to jump over to the scout position and also be able to resupply. But as much as I'd love to be here to take advantage of another fog of war removal for the other machine gunner, I don't want to be in a space where there is a targeted attack incoming, so I'll sit where I'm at in the bunker. That's the end of the player turn. We now move into the enemy turn. There's 3 major things to go through. The first one's resolving enemy dice, then removing them. So first off, doing damage to any command pawn that happens to be inside of one of these spaces, and multiple red dice could inflict multiple wounds. And of course, the arrows can also inflict wounds. In this case, the machine gunners would hit for 2 damage in these positions, hence the reason why I got off these positions and into the bunker, because I do not want to be sitting on either of these at the end of the turn. So I'm safe and I can remove all the dice. So the dice all resolved and I didn't get hit by anything. We go left to right through the battlefield row next to see if anything activates. The machine gunner would then hit people in these positions. Pillbox has nothing going on except just protecting this thing. Machine gunner would hit in these positions as well. So that's going to do it for the row. And then we're going to go ahead and advance any face-up enemies left. We're going to advance them to the left if there was any space. So for instance, if we had taken out a machine gunner in some miracle situation, then things on this row would shift to the left. It's also worth noting when shifting cards down the road to the left, you're only going to go as far as the second position because this position will always be housed with actual soldier tokens. Also, when you move cards that are on top that are revealed down through the row, any ones that are unrevealed face down will not move during this shift. That'll do it for the turn. We now begin a brand new one. We're going to flip any face-down enemies in the row that are exposed. In other words, there's nothing on top of them. We don't currently have that, so we skip past it. The enemy dice are going to roll. So again, depending on how many enemies are sitting in here, we didn't deal with the pillbox enough to go after these guys, so there are still 6 dice being rolled. If we can thin out this area, there's less dice being rolled in this step. So that's kind of a primary thing we kind of want to try and accomplish. All the dice have been situated, and you can see now this scout up here, we happen to leave a command pawn in that position. It would cost us 2 life to do so. Not good. So we want to stay out of there at the end of our turn for sure. We're rolling 4 action dice yet again. Let's hope for some sequential numbers here. I'm going to discard my 2 right now in order to move 2. Moving from 5 through to 7 means we went past the resupply, so then we immediately come over here and we can choose a reinforcement card along with a resupply token on top of it. Now, during the beginning of the video, when I showed you this section over here, I didn't have the tokens on top of the cards, but during setup, there should be one face up on top of each of the reinforcement cards so you can make a selection. And once you do make a selection, you simply populate it with the next card in the pile here for the reinforcements and then take a resupply token face up and place it on top. Once you got your reinforcement card with your resupply token, you have a choice to make. You can choose at this point to go ahead and switch out this demolitions unit with any of the other 10 positions that you have out there, or you can choose to discard this card altogether. In either case, you get to keep the resupply token. When you choose to swap out a card, you can literally pick any of the slots available. You can even choose the one you're currently standing in. I've swapped that out. I'm going to go ahead now and discard this 1 die right here to activate the card, doing a 2 armor attack against the pillbox. So that's a total of 3 damage on the pillbox. We need 2 more, and guess what? That grenade we got with the demolitions individual, I'm going to go ahead and discard it right now. That's an additional 2 damage being thrown on the pillbox. The grenade goes in, blows it up, and we've taken it out. Pretty awesome so far. We use 1 die to move, 1 die to activate a card. We have 2 more dice left, and they're both 1s. I'm going to probably go ahead and use 1, discard it to move, so I can get myself off the position where I'm going to potentially take a damage. So we'll go to here. And with my final die here, a single one, we're going to activate this one here. And again, one thing you could do to remind yourself you've activated a card on your given turn, this is actually a good idea, is to place the die right on the card itself. It kind of reminds you that you've gone ahead and activated and you can't reactivate it later. Again, I have not gotten much for sequence dice yet. I'm hoping to pull off one of those and show you an example of that in the future where I do multiple iterations of this against one target, which would be cool. But for now, just one hit going against infantry. I could choose to hit the machine gunner if I wish. Can't touch this one because it has fog of war on it. Or I can now actually go after the Japanese soldiers, which I'm going to go ahead and do. I'm going to hit one of them and reduce their health by 1. And going forward, as I activate cards with my action dice, I'm going to leave the die right on the card itself to ensure you guys are aware of which ones I actually activated so that you see that I'm not reactivating the same one more than once in a turn. The enemy turn starts and the enemy dice are going to cause damage, but my pawn is outside of all of them. Any battle row effects are going to trigger right now, but we currently don't have any. So at this point, things are going to advance. Things are going to move left if they have positions to do so. So in this case, the machine gunner is going to shift to this position. We go right into another turn. We flip any exposed enemies that are face down. We don't have any, so we're rolling the enemy dice, and we still unfortunately have 6 Japanese soldiers, so we're still rolling 6 dice through the tower and seeing who the targets are across my 10 individuals. Let's see. Let's get our action dice into the tower and see how we do. Right off the bat here, let's do an activation with some sequence involved here. We're going to use a 2 and a 3. So basically, I'm going to go ahead and activate the infantrymen once and go ahead within the same activation to do it twice in a row because I have 2 dice in sequential order. So this is going to be 2 damage going to units out here. So I'm going to choose to have 1 taking out that Japanese soldier, and we're going to flip another one over here. This card's now been activated once, so we're done there. We're going to go ahead and move 2, and we're going to take ourselves to the bunker. It's a relatively safe place to be, so we'll go ahead and discard a die to activate this one in order to gain some sandbags to help prevent damage in the future. A great turn against the Japanese. We resolve no enemy dice against us. We have no battle row effects against us, and we have nothing to advance. So we're good, and we're going right into the next turn. At this point, again, we'd be flipping exposed enemies that are face down. None there. So we're rolling, and this time when we roll, we're only rolling 5 dice because we managed to take down one of the soldiers. So not as many targets this time around. So the more we ease up on this and actually take down these soldiers, the less of these dice going into the equation, and we can actually get around this rondel a little more safely. Looks like I spoke too soon. This looks really dangerous. They are targeting every single soldier on the one side I'm about to wrap around on. That is pretty bad. Let's go ahead and roll our action dice and see how we do here. That's a pretty wild roll because I would have loved to have had that in a prior turn. I'm going to do something a little bit bold here. Might be a little bit dangerous, but let's try. We're going to go ahead and discard this one for 1 move to go to the scout. And that means we've completed 1 lap around. We need 1 more lap to complete this objective, but at the same time, race against time, lose 1 health each time we complete a loop, which we just did, so I dropped myself down by a health. I'm going to immediately go ahead and use the med kit that I had in order to restore that health I just lost. And because I have the sandbags token over here, I'm going to be a little bit bold. We're going to move 3 positions to try to get out of the way of the machine gunners, because I don't want to land here or here, because not only are they getting hit for a single hit each, but also these machine gunners are going to be adding even more to that. A move to that infantryman is a little bit more safe, only taking 1 hit, which my sandbags will be able to defend against. So I'll go ahead and use a 2 and a 3 now to activate this infantryman to take 2 shots. We're going to take out this Japanese soldier, and we're going to flip this other one over for another hit. The enemy turn starts. We have a die with the command pawn, so I take a shot, but my sandbag token is discarded to defend against it. Nothing else to do in the enemy turn, so we go right into the next one. We're rolling 4 dice for the Japanese soldiers because we're beginning to thin out their soldiers as we go along, which is nice. Keep it up. We got 2 3s, a 7, and a 9. Action dice going in. I'm really hoping for a very sequential roll here because we're in a very safe spot right now. Let's see how we do. This actually works out fantastic. I can do 3 shots with the infantrymen, and I'm very tempted to take out the machine gunner here. I mean, I very well could, but I could also get rid of 2 of the soldiers, which I think I'm going to go ahead and do. Let's get rid of this for 1 and this one for 2. That's really going to help me out. The final die I'm going to use is going to move me 2, which is going to take me from 4 to 6. I'm on the scout. We passed the resupply. Let's get ourselves a reinforcement card and a resupply token. Out of the 3 available options, I'm going to go for the Sherman. The Corsair airplane comes in as a reinforcement, also gets a resupply token. This one is a veteran token. You can discard this token to actually flip over one of your soldiers and make them a veteran. They'll have better effects. I'm going to go ahead and replace my scout that I'm currently on with the Sherman. Not bad at all. We also gain a binoculars token, which we can discard to remove one fog of war token. Although, as you can tell from the Sherman, that's not going to matter. The Sherman actually ignores pillboxes and also may discard dice to ignore fog of war if you want to. But in this case, I can actually do it for free. So it's probably better than burning a die. We're all set up. Enemy turn begins. We have no enemy dice to deal with, nothing on the battlefield row, and nothing to advance. Brand new turn. Let's find out who the Japanese soldiers are targeting. Interesting decision. They went after both of the bunkers in this case, and we also, of course, had the machine gunners covering a number of my infantrymen. Let's go ahead and roll my dice and see how we do. Well, my friends, the Sherman tank is going to go absolutely off here with a sequence of 2, 3, 4, activating 3 times in a row, being able to take out any enemy that it goes after. And once I'm done, I'll be flipping this card over. Ignores pillboxes, although that doesn't matter in this case. Would have been nice earlier in the game. You may discard dice to ignore a fog of war. So that's kind of the fun thing. I could burn more dice to do this, and I actually might, because you have to use all your dice on a turn, and that would allow me to stay where I'm currently at, which actually wouldn't be all that bad of an idea to make sure we kind of clear out this row. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and have the first one here. I'm going to discard this die in order to ignore this fog of war. So that first hit is going to go straight through and blast this machine gunner away, which is pretty awesome. The second one's going to go, we're going to have it target this machine gunner. It's going to blow this individual away. And then the third die is going to go, and it's going to blast this individual away. So we only have one left. And of course, the Sherman behaves differently than an infantryman. Has an arrow on it telling you once you're done your sequence, you're going to flip it over, and now it's going to cost you a die to flip the card back over. If I happen to have a die, which I don't, I could use it in order to flip it back upright to get it ready, but I would not be able to make another sequence worth of attacks in the same turn. I'd still have to follow the same rules as I would with an infantryman in terms of using that card only one time. In any case, we're doing really good with this objective. So at this point, we're going to go ahead, because we know there's nothing happening with the enemy dice. The enemy turn is a wash. We're going to go ahead and roll the one die, I should say, remaining for the Jap soldier that's here. And we got ourselves a 1. So it's going up to the scout. So far, I'm feeling pretty good about objective number 1, but there are 2 ways I can complete this objective, so let's go over them right now. Great time to talk about them. So the first way is to wipe out all the enemies in the battlefield row, which we are 1 away from. The second way is to get our command pawn to complete the number of laps mentioned on the top left of the objective card, which is 2. So once we get around, that's going to do it. We'll move the flag to the very top. Boom, we've hit the objective. So we have 2 ways to do it. So why would you pick one over the other? Great question. So basically, if we do this on a lap basis, if I just push my pawn past this and we complete the objective, that's not bad. But let's say, for instance, we do that rush. Then this enemy that's sitting in here is going to be moved to the fallback area, which is going to be moved off to the side. When you get to objective number 4, you're going to have all fallback enemies come back into the game, which means if you've just been rushing around the rondel really quickly and not actually clearing the enemies out, you are going to have a whole bunch of extra enemies coming in at you at the end of the game, and that's going to make that final stand really difficult. Whereas if you do what I'm doing currently, trying to anyway, to actually wipe out the battlefield, if we destroy the battlefield and wipe it out, we go to the next objective with nothing in the fallback area, keeping that clean so no extra enemies are coming in for objective number 4. So now you understand I have a clear plan in mind. Let's go ahead and roll our action dice and see how we do. All right, so to take out this individual, we're going to need to do some infantry type damage. We're going to have to get on an infantryman if we want to do this before we hit the time of going around the rondel. So we're going to have to try and do this here or here. And currently, I do have the ability to do it. I can actually move 2, which I can do to get to this position right here. I'm safe from anything. I'm not going to be targeted by any dice, and there's nothing else inside the battlefield that's going to cause me any harm that way. So we're going to go ahead and use this for the 2. Then we're going to go 3 and 4 to activate. This is going to be 2 damage, and that's going to wipe out the final enemy here. So we have cleared objective number 1. When you defeat all enemies in the battlefield row, your turn immediately ends. You move your pawn to the first action space at the top of the action row, like I just did. You're going to reveal the next objective card, of course, and follow the objective setup for it, which we'll do in just a second. Then we're going to do a resupply. We gain a reinforcement card and a resupply token as if you just passed the resupply card. This is what I was talking about before. This is the benefit for taking out the entire battlefield. It's a nice boost. And then we're going to begin a new player turn, of course. So we're moving on from Hacksaw Ridge to the Rocky Crags. You're going to see up in the top left-hand corner, this one's going to have us doing 2 laps, so we'll place the flag on the second position. In a second, we're going to get 5 action dice this time around instead of just 4, and we're drawing the K scenario card. The one we had previously is discarded. And that case scenario card is called Ambush. It says add 3 soldiers to the battlefield whenever you pass over resupply. So because it's tied to resupply, I'm actually going to move this scenario card over there as a reminder. Now this objective is very interesting in that it has not only known enemies on the very top, but known enemies on the very bottom as well. So none of these come from the unknown enemies deck, which is the ones that do not have letters. These ones all have letters. So B, C, and D across the bottom, slots 2, 3, and 4. And then we have G, B, and A across the very top. So we have a tunnel, mortar, and sniper to deal with. Now these ones all have effects. They're all kind of interesting. So not every single one of them, but we have the soldiers. They're set at 3 based on the objective card. The tunnel says after the enemy attack phase, add 2 soldiers to the battlefield. So every time the enemies go through their attack phase, more of them are coming through the tunnel essentially into this area. So it's going to become a problem very quickly. There's also going to be fog of war tokens on 3 of these. Every one of these cards has a fog of war token, and there's 2, 2, and 3. The mortar team here is going to be hitting people on the angles, which is pretty nasty, 4 individuals. And then we have the sniper here who's going to be hitting every space. With all that in mind about the objective, and it's worth noting I've also reset the flag to be on the 2 position because we have 2 left for that objective. We now get to do a free reinforcement resupply. So we can choose to bring a sniper in, a corsair, or a medic. The Corsair is going to be huge for us because it can take out armored units as well as being able to destroy planes, plus giving us a veteran token. This is a great one to go after. Now again, I get to choose if I want to actually discard that Corsair card or keep it. I'm definitely going to keep it. We're going to place it somewhere safe where I can actually land potentially and not been hit by a mortar team, although the sniper can hit everybody, so there's that. But we're going to go ahead and place it there. Now the veteran token, I'm going to place in my supply and keep it. I might actually use it once I move my pawn to a space where I want to bolster somebody to a veteran status and then make use of their abilities versus picking somebody off the hop here and hoping to land on them. So I can simply just place that in my inventory. Into the Rocky Crags we go, and the Japanese soldiers scouting at a couple individuals to target. The targets have been acquired. Of course, the sniper on top of that, hitting everybody in every space. The mortar team on top of that. Like, it's not looking good. We need to clear out some enemies because it's going to get a bit scary here. First and foremost, we need to get rid of anything that's going to bring more enemies into this area because more red dice will be coming out. So let's go ahead and try and get rid of the fog of war here. So I'll use my binoculars right off the hop here in order to tick this down to a 1, just discarding it. We're in a space with a scout, so I can go ahead and just discard a single die to pull off removing that final fog of war. So with the binoculars, in combination with discarding a 4 die, we've activated the scout, and that removes all of the fog of war that is currently there, the 2 that were there. The tunnel is revealed. At this point, let's get in position and use that Corsair against it. Discarded a die with a number 2, we got to the F4U Corsair, and now we're going to go ahead and activate it. Discarding another 4 on this card, activating it, and taking out the tunnel completely. That was a big time boost for us. We have 1 unknown card, which does not flip right now. It'll flip at the start of the next turn. I discarded a single die with a 1 on it to move 1 more position over. We'll discard this final die to activate this, and we're probably going to take a shot at one of these soldiers. We're in a pretty rough spot where we're currently at. The enemy is going to go ahead and activate in terms of dice. None of the dice are going to hit me, but now we go from left to right through the row. The mortar team is going to hit me for 1, and the sniper is going to hit me for 1. That was certainly pretty rough, and I was looking at this +1, -1 thinking, well, maybe I could jump to the bunker and hide there, but even there I'd be hit for 1, plus the sniper would be 2. It was just in a really bad situation all the way around. Of course, I could have also targeted and gone after some of these individuals, but the plane could not have killed the sniper or the mortar, and just with my dice, there's no way I could have actually gotten to a combination to take out either of those 2 that quickly. So I think I might have been able to maybe eliminate the mortar team, which might have been the better choice there, but I didn't want more enemy soldiers coming in, so I went the way I went. Hopefully it pans out for me. The enemy dice didn't hit me, but the battlefield row got me pretty good. The mortar and the sniper hitting me. Now they all shift to the left, and the cards underneath remain in their positions. They never move. We now start a brand new game round, and when we do, we always flip up and reveal any unrevealed enemy cards that don't have anything on top of them. So that one right there is coming up. And my friends, it is no joke. You'll see this thing targeting multiple locations, a Type 97, not good. This is an armored vehicle, of course. 5 needed to take it down. All right, let's find out where the enemies are targeting this time around. Not too bad overall. Most of them are behind me, so I guess that's a good thing. We'll go ahead with our action dice. Let's go ahead and discard a die here for 2. This is going to allow me to move 2 spaces from 4 to 6. And the ambush scenario card, which is on the resupply, says add 3 soldiers to the battlefield whenever you pass over resupply. So now we have a total of 6 in here. I think for this reinforcement and resupply, the medic is going to be the right choice. We currently have 3 health remaining. We got ourselves a whole bunch of snipers coming through, a machine gun team in here as well. I swapped out the bunker individual with a medic and also taken the resupply token, which is one of these, helping to prevent a future wound. Now, while we're on the Sherman space, we're going to go ahead and discard a die to flip this back over. We're going to discard this one to make sure we have a big-time sequence coming up. We're going to go ahead and activate the Sherman, where I'm going to go ahead and discard a 3 here in order to ignore everything going on Fog of War-wise with the sniper. Then we're going to do a sequence here. We're going to do a 2-shot sequence. We're going to take the sniper out, so it'll be completely removed, so we're no longer being hit from every space, which is huge. So that one is going to go. We cannot touch this Type 97 because it's armored, and this one only goes after infantry, so that's another reason why I'm not targeting that one. So the sniper will be gone, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit one of the Japanese soldiers over here and take them out. That's going to do it for my turn. We take a look at the dice here, and we don't currently have any dice that are going to be triggering any kind of nastiness going through the battlefield row here. None of these are going to hit me at all in terms of the mortar or the tank, so we're good on those fronts. The tank is going to shuffle along the row, and we're rolling dice for the Japanese soldiers. We got 5 Japanese soldiers, so we're rolling 5 dice. Let's see how we do. That was insane. They really don't like the guy in the bunker in the top right-hand corner, but they also don't like the demolitions dude who's able to take down the tank, so they targeted him as well. Let's go ahead and roll our 5 dice, see how we do on our side of the equation. And we're sitting in the same space as the Sherman. We could potentially use it again. I'm going to go ahead and discard a 3 from my pool over here in order to bring this tank back. I'm going to go ahead and discard another 3 in order to ignore the Fog of War on the mortar. And we're going to go ahead and do our sequence here. We're going to do 2, 3, and 4. We're going to go all out with this tank one more time. That's going to allow us to do all kinds of damage. So first off, the Fog of War has gone off this because I can ignore it from the tank. First one hits the mortar team. They are gone. So that's awesome. And then the other 2, we're going to take out 2 of the Japanese soldiers. Into the enemy phase, we have nothing in terms of dice that are going to affect us. Going through the row here, we're safe. We're now going to transition to moving the tank, which is sitting here to the left of the row. Starting a brand new turn, let's reveal what's right here. Got ourselves a machine gunner sitting here waiting for us, and we're going to go ahead and roll some dice. We're rolling 3 dice now for the Japanese soldiers. We've been thinning out the soldiers, which is great news. Let's see who they're targeting. 4, 4, and 1. All right, let's see how we do in the roll. I went ahead and flipped over the Sherman tank because in the last turn we actually used our dice to make an attack at the very end, and we didn't use a die to bring it back upright, so it's actually deactivated at the moment. And we've got this kind of craziness in terms of our current roll, which isn't that great. Let's go ahead off the hop here. We're going to use this one in order to flip the card back over. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to spend 2 here to make 2 sequential attacks. Now, here is the question. I'm going to have to discard a die to be able to deal with the machine gunner as well. So I'm going to go ahead and discard this to get rid of the Fog of War. That's going to remove this, and we're going to use the sequential attacks to take out the machine gunner and also take out one of the Japanese soldiers. We still have a single die remaining. I'm thinking about jumping off the tank at this point, but I don't really want to go past my demolitions individual either. But technically, after making that attack like I just did, this is flipping back over, so we could go ahead if we wanted to, and we could spend that die to bring this back upright to be ready again. But like I said, it's not going to help us because we really do need to get to somebody who can actually do some damage against armor plating, and this thing's not going to help us in that equation. So we might want to jump away at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and use 3. We're going to move down to this position right here. Although, saying that, actually looking at it, not a good idea because this thing's going to hit me for 1. So maybe I will actually stay put and we'll just bring this card right back up again. And that's all we're going to do. We're kind of sitting on the Sherman right now, a little bit scared to move forward. So currently nothing to do on the dice, nothing through the middle, and nothing moving. So we're good on all fronts there. We just go ahead and take these. We're going to be rolling 2 dice for the enemies to determine what they're doing. Got ourselves a 0, which is going to be a 10 here, and an 8. And then we go for ourselves to see what we get. And this is really going to be big for us because it can determine, can we go for this demolitions to start really going after that tank? That's what I want to see. There was one die that came down through the tower and was on an angle, so we'll just actually make sure it comes down flush. There we go. It actually works out pretty great. We're going to go ahead and use a 3 and a 4 to activate the Sherman tank, which allows us to blow away the Japanese soldiers that are in here, so there's none left. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to move 1, which is going to allow us to get to the demolitions team over here. And of course, this, because we just used it, we're going to flip that over. Technically, there would be dice there just to mention that we've used it. And then this one here, we're going to go ahead and do a 3-4, which is going to be activating this thing twice, putting 4 damage on this tank. Not bad at all. We're getting ourselves close to the end of this objective. So at this point in time, dice for the enemy's not going to do anything. We're going to look through the middle, nothing to do in terms of its attacks. It's not going to move forward because it will never move into the first slot. That's only for Japanese soldiers. So it stops where it currently is. That's going to do it. We're going to go ahead and replenish everything back. And of course, in terms of rolling dice now, there's no more soldiers. So these dice aren't even being rolled. We're just rolling our action dice for ourselves to see how we can do in terms of taking out this tank. We don't know what's underneath of it, though. That's going to be part of the surprise. We're going to go ahead and activate the demolitions crew, doing 2 damage to this tank, blowing it up. So this thing is now gone. And honestly, that medic that's sitting right here could really help me heal. So let's go ahead. We're going to burn 3 here in order to move. We're going to move 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to go ahead and do this twice. And this is going to allow me to heal away the 2 damage that I have here. The medic helping me out, kind of getting ready for the future, which is great news. Perfect timing. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to use a 2, I think, maybe to get up to the infantrymen, although not sure if that's going to be a wise idea, but why not? Let's go up to the 2, so that will cycle us around to here. And at this point in time, we're going to go ahead and move the flag to the top, almost to the top position. We're 1 away from that. We've gone around 1 lap. So we go into the enemy turn this time. There's nothing to do, so we move on. That means we clear all the dice we got around here. We're going to flip exposed enemies. So this is an exposed enemy now. We're flipping it over to find out what it is. Mortar team. That's fun. I'm actually the only position that's actually relatively safe, but there is fog of war on this individual we have to clear first. We got a lone individual sitting out here. Let's see if we can take this individual out. I really don't want to go past the resupply because an ambush will come out and 3 more soldiers will be added in here. So I want to try to take this guy out right now. But here is the difficult thing, is that I've already passed by the scout area, which was probably not a smart thing to do, but I had to use my dice. And so by moving through that, I don't have the ability to get rid of the fog of war at this point in time. So not my most favorite move ever, but I'm going to go ahead and discard a 4 in order to move 4, which is going to pass me past the resupply. So an ambush happens, 3 more enemies come out, which is not good, but we do get to do a reinforce. And I honestly think going after a sniper might be a really good deal. Machine gun team could be good too, but you might be wondering, well, these ones are horizontal. How does that work? If you bring in one of those into your row, it's going to take up 2 spaces. So you actually remove a number when you're putting it across 2 spaces. So it's actually going to make your rondel a little tighter in terms of movement. So it's good and bad. I might actually go for the sniper instead, and I kind of like the one here. Although this is kind of nice because I can get rid of 1 fog of war, but my tank can do a pretty good job of that as well. Technically, it's an all or nothing situation. So let's go for this in terms of the healing. We'll take this sniper here. We'll move things down the road. We got another sniper coming in. Let's see who gets tied into this one. We got ourselves a grenade. All right, this is where we're currently at. We still have 4 more dice left. We've gone through the resupply. The ambush is out there. We're probably going to go ahead right now and bring the Sherman back and go a little crazy here because we want to get rid of the mortar team for sure. So let's go ahead and discard a die to bring the Sherman tank back upright again. And then we can actually activate this thing in order to do some damage. First off, we want to go ahead and discard a die to ignore the fog of war up here. So let's go ahead and use a 2 in this case to do that. And then we're going to do a 3 and a 4. That's going to allow us to blow this individual away completely. And we'll also be able to take out 1 of the other individuals in this area. And then this token, or I should say this card, is going to flip back over because it's been used. And we're sitting right here. So we just need to deal with these 2 other individuals before we get wrapped back around. The enemy phase this time around is brain dead easy because there's nothing really going on. There's no dice in play. There's no effects in the middle. There's no advancing of anything. So we go right into our turn. But there are enemies this time, so they do get to roll 2 red dice against us and target some of our individual soldiers. So we got a 1 here and a 0. So that's going to be the 10 on the medic. Now, I still haven't used my veteran token yet. You might be wondering, well, when are you going to use that? I could actually use it on a number of different individuals at some point, but if you take a look at like the medic, for example, if I was to use it on him, you flip him over and he actually can heal faster. So infantrymen don't change when you flip them over, I don't believe. There's nothing else on the opposite side that really gives you any kind of bonus. It's exactly the same. But a sniper, for instance, can become far more useful because now they can actually go through fog of war. Like that actually would make a lot of sense. Now that I have the sniper out, getting more of that going would actually make more sense even than my medic. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to go ahead right now because I think for the future it'd be a good idea. I'm going to spend this token and we're going to make this sniper a veteran. We can do this at any time during a turn. So boom, now a veteran. Awesome. We got that extra ability in there. We haven't used the +1, -1 yet, but we have no real reason to. Let's roll our dice and see how we do overall. Not bad. We got a bunch of 3s, 2, and a 4. Let's go ahead and make use of our veteran sniper right now. Let's go ahead and we'll do 2. That's going to allow me to move my pawn to the sniper. Then we're going to do a 3 and a 4. That's going to be 2 hits at 2 damage apiece, which is enough to wipe out both of them because they both take 2 damage to be killed off. And that's going to do it. Every single enemy in the battlefield is dead. The turn immediately ends. We've made it halfway there. We're on to objective number 3. We've made it to the castle. This one's going to have 3 full laps required. 6 action dice now, so we're going up even more. We get a Q scenario card, which I'll grab in a second. We got 4 enemies in here. We've also set these up according to the letters. These are the known ones. The unknown ones are going to be numbered, which means they're coming for the first time from the unknown deck. We have no idea what they are. There's going to be some of them slotted underneath of these cards, making them even more fun to deal with. No idea what's coming at us. As depicted on the objective card, we have 1 unknown and 2 unknown under each of these 2 slots. We also got our Q scenario card on the move. It says after each loop, move the rightmost enemy card to the fallback area. That's going to be pretty nasty because even if we're doing pretty good so far, which we have on the first 2 objectives, this is going to slowly start pulling individuals into that fallback area to make that last objective even tougher. We defeated all the enemies in objective number 2, so now we get to go ahead and gain a new card as well as a new token. One thing to note, I noticed one of these is on its veteran side and it shouldn't be, so we'll just flip this back over to its normal side. It has to be turned veteran by actually using the veteran token. So we have a sniper here with a grenade, which is actually pretty cool. Machine gun team, very powerful and might be very, very handy against some of these other enemies. And then we have another sniper over here. The grenade one is very, very tempting. Binoculars one, not so much. It only removes 1 fog of war token, but we do have 2 machine gunners with 1 fog of war token, so could actually be very beneficial on that front. I've chosen the sniper and the grenade here. The demolitions individual came in and got a veteran token, which I am very jealous of because I'd love to have that right now. So I get the grenade automatically. The sniper I don't have to take if I don't want to. And the thing I'm keeping an eye on is making sure that I'm not eliminating too many of these individuals that can actually do damage against armor. Because of course, infantrymen, I have 3 of them left that can hit armor, and I have 1 demolition screw that can hit armor. That's it. So if I keep replacing them with snipers, it's going to cause some conflicts there. But they do additional damage on infantry units, which is great because these guys can pick off multiple of these guys over here. So very handy. The temptation is to potentially get rid of the bunker in the top right hand corner. I just don't know. I haven't really activated that one that much, and it might be the right time to snag it away. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I think that's a safe play for now. We still have the medic, and of course, if I get a veteran token in the future, I can make that medic even more useful to do a lot of healing. I still have the ability to block 1 damage coming to me and heal 1 damage, so I'm feeling pretty good right now, but we'll see. This could get pretty crazy. All right, let's start things off by rolling for the enemies, find out who they're targeting. This will make a big difference on things. We got 2 5s, a 9, and a 7. That really didn't take long. They're not a fan of the sniper in the top right-hand corner at all. Let's go ahead and roll our dice here, see what we get. I'm going to take advantage of the scout that I have right here, using a die to activate it to take away a fog of war token off the machine gunner, which I've already gone ahead and removed. So that is clear. Now we're going to use this die right here to move 2. That's going to get us into a situation where we can use our airplane here. We can activate this plane to destroy units like this, the pillbox. We can go ahead and just absolutely take it out. With the pillbox destroyed by the F4U Corsair, we now have the ability to go after Japanese soldiers, which is great. We've activated these 2 cards. Let's move along here. I'm going to spend 3 in order to move all the way around to the Sherman tank. And we're going to head right through a resupply, so let's gain ourselves a reinforcement card and a token. Out of the options available in the reinforcement area here, I think the demolitions is what we want to go after, make ourselves stronger against those types of armored units, plus get the veteran token on top of it. So we're going to get a new plane coming into the row and a new token on top. I'm going to choose to swap out the infantrymen up there in the top right-hand corner in slot 4. Now I've got a veteran token I can spend, and I'm very tempted to potentially upgrade one of the demolitions individuals. If I flip it over, it will turn it to a 3 attack against a armored unit, which would be nice. Or I could actually turn my other sniper into a veteran, being able to get rid of fog of war tokens, which is very handy. In the end, as tough as a decision as it was, I decided to go ahead and bump up my demolitions unit right here. I think it'll be beneficial, especially near the tail end of the rondel. This will probably come in handy if tanks or something like that, something really heavily armored comes out and we need to do a big hit against it. Hopefully that is the right call. Now, what wasn't the right call strategy-wise was I was thinking I had enough dice to be able to land here like I did, then use a die to discard it to flip this over, use another die to ignore the fog of war on the sniper, and then use another die to take the sniper out. But I don't have that many dice left. I only have 2. So at best, I can actually get the Sherman back active again, and then that's about it. So the other question is, do I want to shuffle into a different position with 2 dice and potentially do damage elsewhere? Well, I think sitting around on the Sherman doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's go ahead and move 2 to the sniper here. We'll activate the sniper. So we'll go ahead like this with a 2, and we're going to activate this one with a 4 in order to ignore Fog of War and do 2 damage. I'm going to choose to do 2 damage against this machine gunner right here because it's targeting me for 2, which is not good. And to avoid taking 2 damage in the enemy phase, I'm going to go a little bit nuts here. Might regret this. I'm going to throw a grenade in there as well. So 2 damage on top of the 2 is 4. So that machine gunner is taken care of and we won't take that damage. So we'll go ahead and blow this individual away. Enemy phase, we have no dice impacting our command pawn, which is awesome. We go through the middle of the battlefield from left to right, and we currently don't have a machine gunner here anymore. Great. Sniper, though, is going to hit everybody for 1, but I do have sandbag tokens, so I'm going to use this to stop a wound from coming through. And then the machine gunner is going to try and attack, but nothing else is going to happen there, so that's going to do it. Now we're going to do some advancing. That's going to do it for the enemy phase. We're all squared away. We head back into a brand new turn. We're going to go ahead and flip this one right here because it is newly exposed. We got ourselves a mortar individual. That's going to be fun. This one is actually targeting where we're currently standing. Rolling enemy dice now for the 4 soldiers left in this area. The targets have been acquired. Let's go ahead and roll our dice. We're going to go all out with this sniper. We're going to activate through a sequence of 3 dice. Pretty awesome. So Fog of War token 1 being removed here for the ability. 2 damage going through, but can't because there's Fog of War tokens left. Next die is going to activate another Fog of War tokens coming off, and then 2 damage again, not going to do anything. But the third one is going to take away the Fog of War token, and we'll finally get a bullet through, which will take out this sniper, and it's 2 damage to take it out, and that's exactly what this veteran can do. This is gone. One thing I forgot to do when I revealed the mortar individual right there, I should have placed 2 Fog of War tokens on it, which I've just done now. No gameplay impact, but I just caught that. And then let's go ahead and use this 2 right here for some movement. I'm going to add to it a +1 for this token, giving me a 3 on our movement. We're going to go 1, 2, completing the loop and going around to the scout position. Now what's going to happen as we've completed a loop is the flag is going to go to the second position as it slowly goes up the pole. The next thing that's going to happen is the on the move scenario card is going to trigger. Says after each loop, move the rightmost enemy card to the fallback area. So you're going to start with the one that's face up and then work down to the one that's face down after that. So in this case, we have a face up one on the furthest rightmost slot. So the mortar crew here is going to disappear. This is going to go for the first time in the fallback area. I'll just place it up here in the top left. Unfortunately, I didn't plan very well. I was planning to use the scout by activating this thing with a sequence of dice to get rid of Fog of War off of that mortar area in order to take it out later on, but this on the move card had that individual run away to fall back. Unfortunate. So now I've got 2 dice left to spend. I got to figure out a new plan. Now, in terms of options here, I'm definitely going to go ahead and activate the Scout in order to take away the Fog of War token here. So I'll go ahead, I think in this instance, and use the 4 to activate. We'll go ahead and get rid of the Fog of War token thanks to the Scout. But now we've activated the cards, we got to move. So we're going to go ahead and use 3 move, putting me on the Demolitions individual, which isn't bad because I get out of harm's way with the red dice. But I have no idea whether anything underneath of these, as things move along, are going to reveal something I can actually hit in terms of armor, but maybe it'll work out. So the dice from the enemy aren't going to impact me. The battlefield row has no effects that are going to hit me, but we do have some shifting occurring. And as we flip over to a brand new turn, 2 cards will be revealed right now. We have ourselves another machine gunner, and that's going to come in with a Fog of War token as well as a plane. So at this point, we go ahead as we normally do and roll for the soldiers. We'll go ahead and roll our 4 dice, find out who they're targeting. And we're also going to be rolling an additional die here based on the bottom of this plane to tell us whether it's going to be going to the top row or the bottom row in terms of who or where it'll be targeting. So in this case, odd is going to have us go top, even to the bottom. Let's go ahead and make a roll here. We'll just move these dice down, roll in this die. We got ourselves an even number. Now let's go ahead and roll our action dice and see what we have. I'm going to re-roll one of the dice that didn't land flat. So let's see what happens. A 4. What's interesting to note about the plane that's just come in is this thing's going to bounce top and bottom as we roll every single time for the enemies. We're going to have to wait for a situation where we have a plane that's able to attack because it can destroy planes. That is the only thing that can take this plane out. You can see it's got the armor with the cross through it, meaning we can't use a demolitions unit, for instance, or an infantryman to try and take that plane down. All right, I got myself a plan here. We're going to go ahead and move 1 with this 1 die right here. We'll take us to the sniper. We're then going to go ahead and do a sequence of dice, 2, 3, 4, to activate this thing, doing 2 hits each time. So we're going to go ahead and do 2 hits here to the machine gunner for 2 damage. We'll do another 2 hits to the machine gunner, which is going to take it out completely. And then we'll do 2 damage to one of the soldiers over here, removing it completely. I have a 2 die and a 3 die left. So now if I'm moving, which I have to do because I've activated that sniper card already, I'd be moving 3, which would take me 1, 2, 3 to the sniper, which is good. I could activate the sniper and do 2 damage to the machine gunner, taking off the Fog of War token, but I wouldn't be able to kill it. So the downside is this thing would hit me back for 2, then the plane would hit me for 1. That's a lot of damage all at once. Either way, I'm taking a beating here because I'm going to move 2 from the sniper position coming along to the demolitions position. So I've used this die. I have 1 die worth 3 left. We just went past a resupply. So let's see what we get. Now this, my friends, is a tough choice because if I was being smart, I could go ahead and take the Corsair here and I could replace it with the demolitions individual that's in my row. The problem is that demolitions individual is a veteran now and does a lot of armor damage, which I'm sure will be useful later on, and I might regret this, but I might have to go ahead and do it because we need to get rid of and reduce the amount of damage that I'm taking. So I think I'm going to go ahead and take this one right here. So here are my options at this point. With this plane, I could choose to place the plane anywhere. I could place it in replacement of the demolitions individual and then use the last die to activate this and be able to take a shot at the airplane that is bothering me, taking it down, which would be perfect. Downside is I lose the demolitions veteran, which is bad. Or I could actually place it over here with the medic, replacing the medic, and then use the last I have, which is worth 3, to move from this position down the row to be ready to hopefully shoot it here, or if it moves, I can shoot it with my other plane up there. The downside is, though, if I happen to move down here, I guess actually it would be safer to go down that way versus getting rid of the demolitions. Actually, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to swap this one out for the medic. I hope I don't regret this later on. We'll see. And we're going to bring this individual into the 10 slot. I'm going to go ahead and use my final die for 3. We're going to go 1, 2, and 3. And it's also worth mentioning I have a +1, -1 token, which I'm not going to use right now. Although, saying that, being that I have no more dice in play, do I want to spend that +1, -1 to wrap around to get out of the way of any damage whatsoever? Maybe, actually. Downside being I wouldn't already be on a plane going into the next round and might be able to just take out that airplane that's bothering me. That is the question. So I think I'm going to risk it. I think I'm actually going to, well, do I want to risk it? I don't know. Maybe I want to hold on to this token. Maybe I don't. It's such a tough call. Now, the other thing to make note of is the fact that these planes that are bothering me will go away if I deal with the 3 laps and complete the 3 laps I need for the objective. On the bottom of the card, it says remove the plane when the objective is captured. So long as we get around here 3 times, the plane here will just fly away. But it's going to be a nuisance here for at least another lap after I get past this second one here. So, yeah, let's go ahead and be smart and try to keep our health. We'll go ahead and use the +1 to allow me to cycle around. So I get up here to the scout position. That's going to drop the flag. And by drop, I mean raise the flag, but drop the number, going from 2 to 1. We only have 1 more rotation to go, or 1 more lap in order to complete this objective. And then again, right here it says move the rightmost enemy card to the fallback area. So the rightmost card has to come from the battlefield row, so that is going to be a machine gunner, meaning that the plane is still around being a nuisance, and we still have 3 soldiers right here. Now, on the good news side of the equation, we go into the enemy phase, and none of them are going to be able to target me, which is great. The plane can't do anything whatsoever, so we're all clear. We've only got the 3 Japanese soldiers left, and an annoying plane flying overhead. Let's go ahead and see who the Japanese soldiers are targeting. They're going to be targeting 8, 2, and 9. We're also going to roll a die for the plane because it might change positions. It's currently down at the bottom. Let's see if it goes to the top. Top row is an odd number. Will it get it? It does. And that is fantastic news for me because it means it's on the row that I am currently in line with to get to my plane. If I get to my plane and activate it, I can take that other plane down, which would be nice. And again, we don't have to. We could just focus on taking out these soldiers and the plane will just fly away. So we have options there. So let's go ahead and roll our 6 dice for action, see what we get. We had the perfect amount of dice to not only take out the plane, but also take out all of the individual Japanese soldiers on top of it. So first we'll go ahead and use 2 here to move. We're going to move to this position right here. We're going to go ahead right now and activate the plane, and we're going to destroy the plane that is over here. Then next up, we're going to move 2 more positions, and that's going to take us to the sniper right here who can hit for 2, and that's exactly what we need. We're going to go ahead and make a sequence shot of 1, 2, 3, and that's going to blast every single one of the Japanese soldiers away. We have completed the objective. All the enemies have been defeated. We have 2 of them that went to the fallback position, which is going to end up coming back to haunt us inside of objective number 4. At this point, we move the pawn to the first action space, which is in slot number 1, and now it's time to reveal the final objective. We've made it to the final objective. It is Hill 89, the last stand. It states here, add all enemies in the fallback area to the battlefield. So at this point, I've set things all up per the objective card. H, E, B, and D are all face up. You can see them. We have unknown enemies, 1 of each underneath each of the cards, and then we're going to take the individuals from the fallback area. If we had any actual Japanese soldier tokens, they would get plotted in, but we didn't. So 2 of them come in standard. We could have potentially had more, but we did a good job of killing them all off. The mortar and machine gun are going to get shuffled. One of them is going to get placed in slot 2 face down, and one's going to get shuffled and slotted in slot 3 face down. It's now time for the final objective. We have 5 health, a med kit. We're doing okay on the health side of the equation, but we have a lot of enemies in the battlefield row. To complete this objective and win successfully, we have to defeat all the enemies now on the battlefield before the objective ends due to its lap limit. Otherwise, the objective ends in failure and you lose the game. So now we are on the clock. Well, my friends, let's get to work and see how this goes. We're going to roll starting off here for these 2, and we're also going to have to roll for the plane that's out there as well to find out where it's going to go. We got a 1 and a 5, so the scout is getting targeted as well as the sniper. And at this point, we're going to roll a die here to find out if the plane is going top or bottom. Odd is top, even is bottom. We're going to the top. Let's go ahead and roll our 6 action dice and see what we get. 6 is depicted right on the objective itself. And also don't want to forget those fun Fog of War tokens. So I placed a 1 here for the anti-air tank gun, and we also have 2 for the mortar over here. So this one says flip all your plane and tank cards face down. That puts a damper on my attack right off the hop here. We have 2 planes. Both of them are face down right now. The Sherman tank's also face down. So we need to get rid of this anti-air tank gun in order to be able to actually bring these back up. All right, I got myself a plan here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to use 1 die, discarding it to be able to use the Fog of War removal. We're going to remove it off of the anti-air tank gun because we need to take this thing down so we can actually make sure we can use our planes and our tank. So we're going to go like that. Then we're going to go ahead and move 3. That's going to take us to the demolition spot, 1, 2, 3. And we're going to go ahead and do a major sequence here with this individual doing all kinds of armor-based damage. So first off, 2 damage going here thanks to the initial hit for die number 1. Second one's going to put another 2 on it, and that's going to be enough to blow that one away. So we've cleared that up, which is great. We still are going to have to discard a die to bring these face up, but at least we've gotten that out of the equation, so that's nice. Then we have 2 more hits coming from this thing. We might as well fire them at the tank. The tank is not hidden by anything right now, so we might as well just go ahead and smash the tank with 2 more hits. So far, so good. At this point, the 2 targets for the red dice are not going to do anything to me. If we go through the row here, we don't have anything else to deal with, and this is going to hit me, though. The plane is going to do 1 damage to me, so we take 1 hit on our health, which is unfortunate. Later, I'll just go ahead and heal that back up. And actually made a mistake there. The plane hit me as well as the Type 97 tank, so that's actually 2 hits for the health there. Enemies shuffle down the row to the left, and we have, going into the next turn, 2 cards exposed that we can flip over. We got ourselves a machine gunner and a sniper over there, both of which are not good. We got a lot of these arrows flying all over the place. This is going to be a dangerous game going down through this bottom section here. Not looking forward to it. Okay, so we're going to roll some dice now. 2 for the enemies, find out who their targets are going to be for the Japanese soldiers. And then we're rolling for that plane again. We got a 1 and a 7, so we're going here and here. We're rolling another die to find out where the plane is headed. It is a 9. That's going to be odd, so it stays at the top row. Let's roll our action dice and see what we get to work with here. It only makes sense right off the hop here to go ahead and use this medic token in order to heal 1 so that we don't have so many wounds on us so far. We're already getting into sketchy territory. While we're sitting on the demolitions guy, let's go ahead and activate him with a 3, which will do 2 more hits to this tank, taking the tank out. 1 less tank to deal with, which is nice, making that bottom row a little bit less scary. Next, let's use a die to move 2. This is going to take me from the position I'm at 4 to my Sherman tank, which I've been itching to use. Tough call this time around as well. I kind of want to go for the demolitions just from the veteran token alone, but this is going to be until those situations where you might actually take a reinforcement card as well as the resupply token and choose to discard the reinforcement card because maybe it doesn't jive with your strategy for this final objective. So I've got a choice to make here. I think it's a good idea to go after the sniper here. We can replace a regular infantryman with somebody that can actually do a little more damage and also remove a Fog of War token. I think I'm going to go ahead and replace number 9 infantryman here with a sniper. We'll take this token as well, place it in here. We got a new sniper on board. We're going to discard this die right here in order to flip the Sherman back over to reactivate it so we can actually do some fun with this tank. And we're going to go ahead and discard this die right here to ignore Fog of War tokens on the sniper. And then we're going to activate this Sherman tank by placing a die on it in order to do an attack against that sniper to take it down. That's going to do it for now. We're going to go ahead and spend this one right here to move 4, going 1, 2, 3, 4, landing on the plane to get ready to hopefully take out the plane that's annoying us over there. All right, overall, the red dice are not going to be impacting us whatsoever. We take a look across the row. The plane is going to be hitting across here, but I'm down here. Then we look over here. Unfortunately, the mortar team is going to hit me for 1 damage, so that's not good. The machine gunner is not, but we are taking a single hit, so there is a damage. We shuffle things down the row, and there's nothing to actually flip over as we go into a brand new turn. We're going to roll for the enemy soldiers here, find out who they are targeting. The war rages on. We got ourselves a 7 and a 0, so 7 and a 10. That's unfortunate. It's not the one I'm currently sitting on. We're going to roll for the plane. Is it going to stay where it's at or move? It is going to move. That is good news for me because I have potential here that I could take it down. Let's go ahead and roll our 6 dice, and we'll see what we get for our dice. I'm going to go ahead and re-roll the 2 dice that didn't make it down the chute. Let's see what we get. There we go. Let's just go ahead and use a 2 right now in order to flip this thing over. And of course, we're going to use a die immediately right afterwards to activate the thing and flip it right back. So we won't bother flipping it over to do an attack to take out the plane over here. So it's no longer pestering us. This has been destroyed, which is great news. Now we're going to go ahead and decide where we want to move. Well, it makes sense to go up to the infantryman here because he's not targeted by the mortar or the machine gunner. That's a safe spot to be in. So let's go ahead and we'll use a 2 for movement. That's going to get us around to here. That's going to have the flag go up to the second position here on the track. We need to do some shots here. Now, here's the question. We could go ahead and do a 2 and a 3, and we could potentially do enough damage to take out one of these Jap soldiers. That could be an option. I don't think that we really have anything else we could potentially do. So let's actually go ahead and do that because these ones have the Fog of War on them. So we'll go ahead and activate this for 2 shots, blowing away one of the soldiers in here, which is good news. Less red dice in the future. We have 1 more die left to spend. So we'll move 3 and get on the sniper. Overall, not doing too bad. We still have the binoculars, remember, so we can use this, potentially take off that Fog of War token in the future for the machine gunner if we want to go after it. I decided to make use of the 2 hits I had for the infantryman to take out this Jap soldier instead. So at this point, the red dice are not going to hurt us. We have no more planes. We're going to go through the center row. None of them are going to be hurting us either, so we're good. And now we're only rolling 1 die, and there's no plane. So a single die for the 1 Jap soldier going to 2, which is going to be right here. And now for us, we'll roll our 6 dice, see how we do. Let's go ahead and use these binoculars right here to knock off the Fog of War token from the machine gunner, leaving them vulnerable for that. Then we're going to go 2, 3 up here, activating twice for 4 damage, blowing away the machine gunner, which is awesome news. We still have some dice to spend. We'll go ahead and spend 1 die to move to the Sherman tank, which sounds like a lot of fun. We're going to go ahead now and discard. Actually, we don't need to because that particular thing is still upright, although I don't believe that. I think when we attacked prior, we might not have flipped this thing over after we attacked. We probably should have. I doubt that that was still ready. So I'm going to say that that was actually, and should have, I probably missed it, should have been like this. We're going to pay a die to flip it back over. So we do the things proper. And of course, we also have to do the resupply here first. Now, what's tempting me is this machine gun team, but the second I take this, it takes up 2 slots, which makes the whole rondel thing go a little bit faster, and I'm trying to delay that. And even though this is really tempting because it does a ton of damage, it also has the grenade. Like, that could be very handy for getting rid of units very quickly. So it might actually be worth it so long as I can actually land on it, but it actually moves things along a little faster than I want. I don't need the medic right now, and I really don't need the demolitions team either, so I could just take things in terms of grabbing something that could help me, like maybe boosting up a sniper to a veteran. So maybe we'll take the demolitions, and we'll have the Sherman one come in here. And we'll go ahead and reveal, we've got another veteran token. I'm going to toss the demolitions individual. I don't want to take it in any slot, but I'm going to use this veteran token to turn my one of my snipers into a veteran. I'm going to go ahead and turn number 9 into a veteran here. So we'll flip this one over. We got 2 of them sitting side by side now, which is great. This token's been discarded. And I'm going to use my Sherman tank. We're going to go ahead and use 1 die to discard to get rid of the Fog of War, ignoring it. And then we're going to use 1 for the damage to blow that mortar individual away, clearing this card as well. That is great. And we'll remember this time to go ahead and flip this tank over because we have used it. Once again, going into the enemy turn, nothing to do, which is great news. We'll clear up all of the dice, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to flip unrevealed cards, or unknown enemies, I should say. Let's find out who we have in slot number 2. We have a plane. Oh, good. I'm actually kind of happy I didn't get rid of my planes yet. And then another tank. Let's roll the dice, see how we do for the target of the Jap soldier. It's going to be a 2, so the infantrymen right here. We're rolling a die for the plane. Let's see what we get. It's a 6, that's even. It's going to be placed on the bottom row. It's getting tense. We're doing pretty good, though. I think we might be able to pull this off. We're going to go ahead and roll our action dice, see how we do. A lot of 4s so far, a lot of 4s. I'm going to preemptively spend a die by discarding it in order to get my Sherman tank ready to go in the future. I'm actually not going to use it right now because it wouldn't really be all that beneficial, but I can get it ready for the next lap around. Then we're going to go ahead and I'm probably going to move into position to try and take out this Jap soldier. I'll discard a die worth 2 to move to this sniper right here. We're going to activate this sniper to take a shot right here. Only 1 shot needed to kill this thing off. We'll use a 4. Just like that, that Jap soldier is gone. Now, unfortunately, dice-wise, I don't have what I need to stop right here and actually take a shot at the plane, so we'll just ignore the plane for now. We're going to probably cycle around and maybe try to get ourselves on somebody that can actually do some damage. We're going to discard a 4, which is pretty aggressive. That's going to have us moving 1, 2, all the way around 3 and 4 to the infantrymen here. The 5 is going to go to the 1 position. We are on the final lap around. I'm going to trigger the infantrymen, which is going to have 1 damage be placed on the tank. These are really rough dice to have right now, and we're going to be moving 3. Yikes is all I gotta say. I mean, we're avoiding the damage, but it's still scary. So nothing from the dice, nothing from the row. We're gonna shuffle things over. So this is gonna move over to here like so. And at this point in time, we're gonna flip any exposed enemies. We have 1 right here. So we have a mortar team to deal with, coming in with some smoke, fog of war, I should say. We now roll dice. We only have the plane left, no Jap soldiers, so just a single die roll to see if it stays where it is. Is it odd? Yes, it is. It is going to go up to the top row, which is good news for me because I probably won't be there very long. Now, it's absolutely brutal right now. Before I roll my action dice, is the sniper that I'm currently on the top right does not have the ability to get past the fog of war, which is brutal because I can't take out this mortar team really easily. I'd have to get down to this row, and this is my last pass through this, so that is unfortunate. Let's go ahead and roll the dice and see how we do with our dice, because this is really going to depict what we can potentially pull off here. We'll re-roll that last one. And that is the kind of roll that nightmares are made of. That is not a good roll at all. Now, what can we potentially do here? This is actually horrible from the standpoint that we're going to be hopping right past the sniper, past the Sherman, because we can't even stop there. Potentially, we could use a resupply, though, to get the Sherman in position here. So what I'm going to do is use a 2 for movement, because I have 1,000 of them. We're going to go around past the resupply to this position here, and we're going to do a resupply. All right, so I'm choosing to take the Sherman tank here, and I'm hoping this is a good idea. We're going to go ahead and we're going to place this one based on the fact that I'm moving 2 to here. Probably want to place it here, I think, because we can use the demolitions team to take some shots at the tank, take it out. So we might be okay here. So we're going to swap this one out for the Sherman tank. We also have a veteran token we can use, but although that's not going to help us because everything here I think is a veteran at this point on this row, all the way down these ones can't be. So this token's going to sit with me over here. So what can we do now? Well, we're sitting with a demolitions team who really wants to blow that tank away. So let's go ahead and do it. We're going to activate the demolitions team. It's going to do, actually it does 3 damage. I forgot. It's really high powered, but we still need to do it twice to get enough damage to take the tank down because 3 is not enough. We have 1 there. It's 4. So we have to hit it twice. So boom, that tank is gone. So good on that front. Here's where things get scary. So at this point, I have to kind of slow roll myself to not get to the very end. So it can actually work out. Because I put the Sherman tank here, what I can do is I'm going to move 2 and that's going to get me 1-2 to this position here. Then I'm going to go ahead and burn this die right here in order to ignore the fog of war. I'm going to use this one right here to actually trigger the tank to blow this individual away, and we are still sitting on a perfect position right now. Right before the end of the game, we are going to have a chance to use the tank to take this thing down, and I hope whatever we reveal here is something the tank can actually deal with, because if it's not, we are going to be in for some trouble. All right, dice-wise and enemy-wise, nothing to worry about. So we go right around to a brand new turn. Let's see what is behind this card. This really dictates everything. We got ourselves a machine gunner. Oh my gosh. We have this one. I think we've got this one. We need to roll a die for the plane in the top right-hand corner. It does still exist, even though I like to pretend it doesn't. We're going to go ahead and roll, and we got ourselves a 7. That's going to actually bring it to the top still. It's going to stay at the top row, which is perfect. Just stay away from me. And again, if we can actually clear the enemies in this row, any planes in play do not matter. We just have to clear the actual battlefield. So we just need to take out this machine gunner. So let's go ahead and roll our 6 dice. I think we've got this one. There really isn't anything that can potentially go wrong here. So let's go ahead and keep rolling dice. Let's go ahead and load up. We're going to go ahead and use this 4 right here in order to flip the Sherman tank back active again. We're going to go ahead and discard another die, another 4, in order to ignore the fog of war here. And then we're going to activate this thing and blow this unit away. And that, my friends, is a victory on Hill 89 at the very last second. And that, my friends, concludes an epic battle in Okinawa, the last battle of World War II, designed by Gabe Barrett, coming from Best with One. If you're looking for the campaign, it's launching on June 11th on GameFound. A link to that campaign page is in the pinned comment, video description, and in the top right-hand corner right now. Really hope you enjoyed the playthrough and it helps you make a decision on this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of what you saw. And as always, keep on rolling solo.